Sarah Mitchell had always been different from other girls her age. While her classmates spent their teenage years shopping at malls and gossiping about boys, Sarah was perfecting her knots and studying maritime navigation charts. Her grandfather, Admiral Robert Mitchell, had filled her childhood with stories of naval adventures and heroic missions across the seven seas. These tales had planted a seed in her heart that would eventually bloom into an unshakable determination to serve her country. The morning Sarah walked through the gates of the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, she felt the weight of her family's legacy pressing down on her shoulders. Her grandfather had graduated from this same institution 60 years earlier, during a time when women weren't even allowed to apply. Her father had followed in those footsteps 30 years later, rising through the ranks to become a respected captain in the Pacific Fleet. Now it was Sarah's turn to carry the Mitchell name forward, but she would be doing so as one of only a handful of women in her class. The Academy's imposing brick buildings and perfectly manicured grounds spoke of centuries of tradition and honor. Every detail, from the precisely aligned dormitory windows to the gleaming brass fixtures, reflected the military precision that would soon become second nature to every midshipman. Sarah adjusted her sea bag on her shoulder and took her first steps toward what she hoped would be 4 transformative years. Her roommate assignment came as both a relief and a source of anxiety. Jennifer Torres was a fellow plebe from California, whose father served as a Marine Corps colonel. At least Sarah wouldn't be navigating these challenging waters completely alone. Jennifer's warm smile and easygoing nature provided an immediate contrast to Sarah's more serious demeanor. While Sarah methodically unpacked her belongings according to regulation specifications, Jennifer chattered excitedly about the adventures that lay ahead. The first few weeks at the academy tested every ounce of mental and physical strength Sarah possessed. The upperclassmen seemed to take particular pleasure in finding fault with everything the plebes did. Their rooms were inspected with microscopic attention to detail. A single wrinkle in a bedsheet or a speck of dust on a dresser could result in hours of additional duties. The physical training pushed their bodies to limits they never knew existed. Dawn brought grueling runs along the Severn River, followed by calisthenics that left muscles screaming in protest. Academic classes demanded no less excellence than the military training. Mathematics, physics, engineering, and navigation required complete focus and dedication. Sarah found herself staying up well past lights out, studying by flashlight under her carefully arranged blankets. Sleep became a luxury she could rarely afford. Every moment of every day was scheduled and regulated, leaving no room for error or relaxation. Despite these challenges, Sarah began to find her rhythm within the Academy's demanding structure. Her natural leadership ability started to emerge during group exercises and team projects. She had an intuitive understanding of naval strategy that impressed even her toughest instructors. When other plebes struggled with complex navigation problems, Sarah could visualize the solutions with remarkable clarity. Her grandfather's stories had given her more than just inspiration. They had provided a foundation of practical knowledge that proved invaluable in her studies. The social dynamics at the academy presented their own unique challenges. Many of her male classmates struggled to accept women as equals in this traditionally masculine environment. Some made their disapproval known through subtle acts of exclusion or barely concealed resentment. Others went out of their way to be protective, which Sarah found equally frustrating. She wanted to be judged solely on her abilities and performance, not her gender. Jennifer handled these situations with remarkable grace and humor, often diffusing tense moments with a well-timed joke or clever observation. Her approach was to kill them with kindness, gradually winning over even the most skeptical classmates through sheer persistence and competence. Sarah admired this strategy, but found herself taking a more direct approach. When faced with discrimination or doubt, she responded by working harder and performing better than anyone expected. As the first semester progressed, Sarah began to establish herself as a force to be reckoned with within her class. Her grades consistently ranked in the top 10%, and her performance during practical exercises earned respect from instructors and peers alike. She volunteered for additional responsibilities and never complained about the demanding schedule. Slowly but surely, she was proving that she belonged at the academy as much as any of her male counterparts. The turning point came during a particularly challenging navigation exercise conducted on the Academy's training vessels. Each midshipman was required to plot a course through the Chesapeake Bay using only traditional methods, without the aid of modern GPS technology. The exercise tested not only their technical skills, but also their ability to work under pressure and adapt to changing conditions. Sarah's team was assigned to one of the older training cutters, a vessel that had seen decades of service training future naval officers. As they prepared to depart, she noticed several of her male teammates exchanging glances and whispered comments.
It was clear they had doubts about having a woman as their navigator for such an important exercise. Sarah said nothing, but she made a mental note to prove them wrong through her actions rather than her words.
The morning of the exercise dawned gray and overcast, with choppy waters and intermittent rain squalls. These conditions would make navigation significantly more challenging, requiring constant attention and frequent course corrections. As their small vessel pulled away from the Academy's dock, Sarah felt a familiar surge of excitement mixed with nervous energy. This was exactly the kind of challenge she had dreamed about during all those nights listening to her grandfather's stories. Her teammates watched skeptically as Sarah spread out her charts and began taking initial bearings using the ship's compass and available landmarks. Traditional navigation required the ability to visualize their position in three-dimensional space while constantly updating calculations based on wind, current, and changing conditions. One small error in calculation could result in their vessel becoming lost or, worse, running aground in the bay's numerous shallow areas. As they progressed through the exercise, Sarah's confidence grew with each successful waypoint they reached. Her calculations proved accurate time and time again, even when unexpected weather forced them to deviate from their planned route. She demonstrated an almost supernatural ability to anticipate how environmental factors would affect their progress, making adjustments that kept them on schedule despite the challenging conditions. By the time they returned to port that afternoon, even her most skeptical teammates were forced to acknowledge her exceptional skill. The instructor praised their team's performance, noting that they had completed the exercise with remarkable precision despite the difficult weather conditions. Sarah felt a surge of pride and satisfaction that went beyond personal achievement. She had proven herself worthy of the uniform she wore and the legacy she carried. The success of that navigation exercise marked a turning point in how others perceived Sarah at the Academy. Word spread quickly through the midshipman ranks about her exceptional performance. Classmates who had previously ignored or dismissed her began seeking her help with their own navigation studies. Even some of the upperclassmen started treating her with the respect typically reserved for promising future officers. However, this newfound recognition also brought increased scrutiny and pressure. Sarah knew that any mistake or failure on her part would be magnified and remembered far longer than similar errors made by her male peers. She had to be better than good. She had to be exceptional in every aspect of her academy experience. This pressure was both motivating and exhausting, pushing her to achieve levels of performance she never thought possible, while constantly worrying about maintaining those standards. As winter approached and their first year progressed toward its midpoint, Sarah began to feel more confident about her place at the Academy. She had survived the initial hazing and proved herself academically and professionally. Her relationship with Jennifer had evolved into a strong friendship that helped both of them navigate the unique challenges they faced as women in this demanding environment. They studied together, supported each other through difficult moments, and celebrated small victories that their male classmates took for granted. The Academy's holiday leave provided Sarah with her first opportunity to return home since arriving in Annapolis. The reunion with her family was emotional and revealing. Her grandfather, now in his 80s but still sharp as a tack, listened intently to her stories about Academy life. His eyes lit up with pride as she described her navigation success and growing reputation among her classmates. He understood better than anyone the significance of what she was accomplishing and the barriers she was breaking down. Her parents expressed their own pride but also their concerns about the challenges she faced. They had worried about sending their daughter into such a traditionally masculine environment, knowing she would face obstacles that their son would never encounter. Seeing her confidence and determination helped ease some of those concerns, but they remained protective and supportive, in ways that reminded Sarah why she was working so hard to succeed. When Sarah returned to the Academy after the holiday break, she felt renewed energy and purpose. The second semester brought new challenges and opportunities, including her first taste of leadership responsibilities. She was selected as a squad leader for her company, putting her in charge of a small group of fellow plebes. This position required her to balance the demands of her own academic and military obligations with the responsibility of mentoring and guiding other midshipmen. Leadership at the academy meant more than just giving orders or maintaining discipline. Sarah had to inspire confidence, solve problems, and make decisions under pressure while setting an example through her own behavior and performance. She discovered that her teammates responded well to her calm, methodical approach to challenges. Rather than relying on intimidation or authority, she led by demonstrating competence and treating everyone with respect. The spring semester also brought the announcement of summer cruise assignments, where midshipmen would spend several weeks aboard active naval vessels to gain real-world experience. These assignments were highly competitive and often determined future career paths within the Navy. Sarah desperately wanted to be assigned to one of the prestigious destroyer or cruiser rotations, where she could apply her navigation skills in operational settings. When the assignments were posted, Sarah's name appeared on the list for the USS Hampton, a guided missile cruiser homeported in Norfolk, Virginia. This was exactly the type of assignment she had hoped for, offering exposure to advanced navigation systems and operational procedures. However, she couldn't help but notice that she was the only woman assigned to that particular vessel, which meant she would once again be proving herself in an environment where her presence was unprecedented. The weeks leading up to the summer cruise were filled with preparation and anticipation. Sarah studied the Hampton's specifications and operational history, wanting to arrive aboard with as much knowledge as possible about her temporary home. She practiced with the navigation equipment she would be using and reviewed procedures for various operational scenarios. Every detail mattered when you were representing not just yourself, but also every woman who might follow in your footsteps. As the semester drew to a close and summer approached, Sarah reflected on how much she had changed since that nervous morning when she first walked through the academy gates. The frightened, uncertain girl had evolved into a confident young woman who could hold her own in any situation. She had proven herself academically, militarily, and personally, earning the respect of classmates and instructors alike. However, she also understood that her journey was far from over. The summer cruise would present new challenges and opportunities to demonstrate her capabilities in an operational environment. Every day brought new tests of her knowledge, skills, and character. The academy had taught her that excellence was not a destination but a continuous journey requiring constant effort and dedication. The traditions and customs of the naval service were becoming second nature to Sarah, but she never forgot that she was part of something larger than herself. Every uniform she wore, every salute she rendered, and every oath she took connected her to generations of sailors who had served their country with honor and distinction. She was not just following in her grandfather's footsteps. She was creating her own path for future generations of women to follow. As she prepared for the summer cruise that would mark the end of her plebe year, Sarah felt ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The academy had tested her resolve and strengthened her character in ways she never anticipated. She had learned that true strength came not from physical prowess alone, but from the combination of mental toughness, moral courage, and unwavering commitment to excellence. The young woman who would soon board the USS Hampton bore little resemblance to the uncertain teenager who had arrived at the academy 9 months earlier. Academy life had forged her into a leader capable of inspiring others and handling responsibility with grace and competence. Most importantly, she had proven to herself and others that gender was no barrier to excellence in naval service. The USS Hampton cut through the Atlantic swells with the precision and power that defined American naval engineering. Sarah stood on the bridge wing, watching the sunrise paint the ocean in shades of gold and crimson. 3 weeks into her summer cruise, she had already learned more about practical seamanship than textbooks could ever teach. The guided missile cruiser had become her floating classroom, and every watch rotation brought new lessons in the art and science of naval warfare. Captain Martinez had welcomed the Naval Academy midshipmen aboard with a mixture of warmth and stern expectation. The Hampton was no training vessel filled with patient instructors. This was an operational warship with real missions and serious responsibilities. The crew had served together through multiple deployments, forming the kind of tight-knit brotherhood that could only be forged through shared challenges and mutual dependence. Sarah understood that she would need to prove herself worthy of their acceptance and trust. Her assigned mentor was Lieutenant Commander Rebecca Walsh, the ship's navigator and one of only 3 women officers aboard the Hampton. Walsh had graduated from the Naval Academy 8 years earlier and had fought her own battles to reach her current position. She understood the unique pressures Sarah faced and had committed herself to ensuring the young midshipman received every opportunity to succeed. Under Walsh's guidance, Sarah quickly adapted to the ship's navigation routines and procedures. The Hamptons Combat Information Center contained navigation equipment far more sophisticated than anything available at the Academy. Digital charts displayed real-time position data with incredible accuracy, while automated systems constantly monitored course, speed, and environmental conditions. However, Walsh insisted that Sarah master traditional navigation methods before relying on electronic aids. During the midnight to 4 watch rotation, when the ship operated with minimal lighting to maintain tactical stealth, Sarah learned to navigate using only stars, compass bearings, and dead reckoning calculations. These skills, which had seemed purely academic at the Academy, suddenly became vitally important tools for ensuring the safety of 300 crew members. The responsibility was both thrilling and sobering for someone still in her teenage years. The Hamptons' mission during Sarah's cruise involved training exercises with Allied naval forces in the Caribbean. These operations required precise coordination between multiple ships, aircraft, and shore-based command centers. Sarah observed how the smallest navigation error could compromise the entire exercise, or, in wartime conditions, result in tragic consequences. The margin for error in naval operations was virtually non-existent. Her fellow midshipmen came from various academy backgrounds and career aspirations. Most were friendly and professional, but a few seemed uncomfortable with her presence aboard what they considered a masculine environment. Sarah had learned to ignore subtle signs of disapproval and focus entirely on her performance and learning opportunities. She knew that success would speak louder than any argument or confrontation. The crew's initial skepticism about having a female midshipman aboard gradually evolved into acceptance and even admiration as Sarah demonstrated her competence and dedication. She volunteered for additional duties, studied ship systems during off hours, and asked thoughtful questions that showed genuine interest in naval operations. The sailors began treating her as just another member of the team rather than an outsider who needed special consideration. Chief Petty Officer Rodriguez, the ship's senior navigator, became an unexpected ally and teacher. His 30 years of experience had taught him to judge people by their actions rather than their appearance or background. When Sarah showed up early for every watch and stayed late to complete assigned tasks, Rodriguez began sharing the practical wisdom that could only be gained through decades at sea. His stories about navigation challenges during storms and combat operations provided insights no classroom could offer. One particularly valuable lesson came during a complex multi-ship formation exercise. The Hampton was required to maintain precise positioning relative to other vessels while conducting simulated missile attacks against airborne targets. Sarah was assigned to assist with navigation calculations that would keep the ship in optimal firing position while avoiding conflicts with friendly forces. The exercise began smoothly, with all ships maintaining their assigned positions and conducting coordinated maneuvers. However, as the scenario intensified, Sarah noticed a potential problem developing. According to her calculations, the formation's planned turn would bring two ships dangerously close to each other, creating a risk of collision if either captain made a small error in timing or positioning. Lieutenant Commander Walsh was busy coordinating with other navigation team members and hadn't yet noticed the developing situation. Sarah faced a difficult decision. Should she speak up about her concerns or trust that more experienced officers would identify the problem themselves? The academic answer was clear, but the social dynamics aboard ship made the situation more complicated. Taking a deep breath, Sarah approached Walsh and quietly shared her observations. The lieutenant commander immediately checked Sarah's calculations and confirmed the potential danger. Within moments, Walsh was on the radio to the bridge, recommending a course correction that would maintain safe separation between vessels. The captain accepted the recommendation and ordered the necessary adjustments, averting a potentially dangerous situation. After the exercise concluded, Captain Martinez called Sarah to his cabin for a private conversation. She expected to be praised for identifying the navigation problem, but instead found herself facing questions about her career aspirations and long-term goals in the Navy. The captain wanted to understand what motivated someone so young to pursue such a demanding career path, especially in specialties where women remained vastly outnumbered. Sarah explained her family's naval heritage and her grandfather's influence on her decision to attend the academy. She spoke about her passion for navigation and her desire to serve her country in meaningful ways. Most importantly, she expressed her determination to prove that gender was irrelevant to naval effectiveness and leadership potential. The captain listened thoughtfully, occasionally asking probing questions that revealed his genuine interest in her perspective. At the end of their conversation, Captain Martinez offered Sarah an opportunity that would significantly impact the remainder of her cruise. The Hampton was scheduled to participate in a major fleet exercise involving ships from multiple nations. The exercise would test coordination, communication, and tactical decision-making under simulated combat conditions. SAA would be assigned to the ship's Combat Information Center, where she could observe how navigation integrated with weapons systems and tactical operations. This assignment represented far more responsibility than typically given to Academy midshipmen during their summer cruises. Sarah would be working alongside senior officers and experienced petty officers who made life-and-death decisions during real operations. The pressure was intense, but the learning opportunities were extraordinary. She accepted the assignment with gratitude and determination to justify the captain's confidence in her abilities. Preparation for the fleet exercise consumed the following week. Sarah studied tactical publications, weapons system manuals, and communication procedures until she could recite them from memory. Lieutenant Commander Walsh provided additional tutoring on combat navigation techniques that prioritized speed and accuracy over academic perfection. Every calculation had to be completed quickly and correctly because hesitation could mean the difference between mission success and failure. The exercise began before dawn on a humid Caribbean morning. Ships from the United States, United Kingdom, and Canada formed task forces designed to simulate realistic naval combat scenarios. Aircraft from multiple air forces would provide both friendly support and enemy threats, creating a complex environment that tested every aspect of naval operations. Sarah took her position in the Combat Information Center with nervous excitement. The CIC was a dimly lit space filled with radar screens, communication equipment, and plotting tables where officers tracked the movements of dozens of aircraft and surface vessels. The atmosphere was tense and professional, with quiet conversations and occasional bursts of urgent activity as new threats appeared on radar screens. Sarah realized she was witnessing naval warfare as it actually occurred, not the sanitized version presented in academy classrooms. Her primary responsibility involved maintaining accurate plots of friendly and enemy positions while assisting with navigation calculations for tactical maneuvers. This required constant attention to multiple information sources and the ability to quickly process complex data under pressure. Sarah discovered that her academy training had prepared her well for these challenges, but the real-world application demanded levels of concentration and accuracy she had never experienced. As the exercise progressed through its first day, Sarah began to understand how navigation formed the foundation for every other naval operation. Weapons could not be targeted accurately without precise position information. Aircraft could not be recovered safely without exact course and speed data. Communication with other ships required constant updates on relative positions and movements. Everything depended on the navigation team's ability to provide reliable, timely information. The second day brought more complex scenarios, including simulated attacks by enemy submarines and aircraft. Sarah watched experienced officers make rapid decisions based on incomplete information, calculating courses and speeds that would maximize their ship's effectiveness while minimizing exposure to enemy weapons. The margin for error was measured in seconds and degrees, requiring the kind of precision that could only come from years of practice and natural ability. During one particularly intense scenario, the Hampton was assigned to escort a high-value merchant vessel through waters where enemy submarines were known to operate. Sarah was tasked with plotting the optimal course that would provide maximum protection while maintaining acceptable speed and fuel consumption. The problem required her to balance multiple competing factors, including weather conditions, enemy threat locations, and mechanical limitations of the escort formation. Working with Chief Rodriguez and Lieutenant Commander Walsh, Sarah developed a solution that impressed the exercise evaluators and earned praise from the captain. Her course recommendations allowed the Hampton to maintain effective sonar coverage while positioning the ship for rapid response to multiple threat scenarios. The academic navigation skills she had learned at the academy, combined with practical experience gained aboard ship, had evolved into genuine tactical competence. As the fleet exercise concluded and the Hampton returned to normal operations, Sarah reflected on how much she had learned during her few weeks aboard the cruiser. The theoretical knowledge gained at the Academy had been transformed into practical understanding through exposure to real naval operations. She had worked alongside professionals who trusted her abilities and treated her as a valued team member rather than a student requiring special consideration. Lieutenant Commander Walsh's final evaluation emphasized Sarah's exceptional performance and recommended her for advanced navigation training upon her return to the Academy. The written assessment noted her technical competence, professional demeanor, and leadership potential in terms that would significantly influence her future career assignments. Captain Martinez added his own endorsement, describing Sarah as one of the most promising midshipmen he had encountered during his command. The relationships Sarah had built with the Hampton's crew would continue long after her cruise ended. Chief Rodriguez presented her with a small navigation instrument that had belonged to his mentor decades earlier, telling her it should be passed on to someone who understood the true art of seamanship. Several other crew members expressed their hope that she would choose navigation as her career specialty, saying the Navy needed officers who combined technical skill with genuine passion for their profession. As the Hampton approached Norfolk Naval Base and the end of Sarah's cruise, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment and purpose. The summer had validated her decision to attend the Naval Academy and pursue a naval career. She had proven herself capable of performing at the highest levels of professional competence while maintaining the character and integrity expected of naval officers. Most importantly, she had gained the confidence that would carry her through the remaining challenges of her academy experience. The young woman preparing to disembark from the USS Hampton bore little resemblance to the nervous midshipman who had reported aboard 6 weeks earlier. Her uniform bore the creases and fading that marked genuine sea service, and her confident bearing reflected someone who had earned her place through demonstrated ability rather than academic achievement alone. The summer cruise had transformed her from a promising student into a future naval officer. Saying goodbye to the Hampton's crew was more difficult than Sarah had anticipated. These men and women had become her teachers, mentors, and friends during an intense period of personal and professional growth. They had shared their knowledge freely and accepted her as one of their own, providing the kind of validation that could never be achieved through grades or awards. The bonds formed during their time together would influence the remainder of her naval career. As Sarah walked down the gangway for the final time, Captain Martinez stopped her for a last conversation. He handed her a small package containing the ship's patch and a personal letter of recommendation. The patch would serve as a tangible reminder of her time aboard the Hampton and the lessons learned during those transformative weeks. The letter would help open doors throughout her future career, carrying the endorsement of a respected commanding officer who had observed her performance under demanding conditions. The return journey to the Naval Academy provided time for reflection and preparation for the challenges ahead. Sarah's second year would bring increased responsibilities and more advanced coursework, building on the foundation established during her successful plebe year. The experience gained aboard the Hampton would give her significant advantages in navigation classes and practical exercises. But she knew that academic success was only one component of becoming an effective naval officer. The patch from the USS Hampton would eventually become more than just a memento of her summer cruise. It would serve as a symbol of her determination to succeed in a challenging environment and her ability to earn respect through demonstrated competence. More importantly, it would remind her that true naval service meant more than individual achievement. It required the ability to work effectively as part of a team dedicated to protecting their nation and its interests. Sarah returned to the Naval Academy as a second-class midshipman with renewed confidence and purpose. The USS Hampton patch had earned a place of honor on her dress uniform, positioned alongside other insignia that marked her growing experience and achievements. Her successful summer cruise had elevated her standing among both classmates and instructors, who recognized that she possessed practical knowledge beyond her academic year. However, this recognition also brought increased scrutiny and higher expectations for her continued performance. The second year at the Academy introduced more complex leadership challenges and specialized coursework in her chosen field of navigation and operations. Sarah threw herself into these studies with characteristic determination, often staying up well past midnight to master intricate calculations and procedures. Her room became a study hub where classmates gathered to work through difficult problems, drawn by her ability to explain complex concepts in ways that made sense to struggling students. Jennifer Torres remained her roommate and closest friend, but their relationship had evolved as both young women gained confidence and experience. Jennifer had chosen marine engineering as her specialty and spent her summer aboard a destroyer's engine room, learning the intricate systems that powered modern warships. Their evening conversations often centered on comparing their different perspectives on naval service and the unique challenges they faced as women in traditionally male-dominated fields. The Academy's social dynamics had shifted somewhat since their plebe year, with Sarah and Jennifer now serving as role models for incoming female midshipmen. This responsibility weighed heavily on both of them, knowing that their behavior and performance would influence how younger women were perceived and treated. They took pride in mentoring new arrivals, sharing hard-won wisdom about navigating the Academy's demanding environment while maintaining their individuality and principles. Sarah's academic performance continued to excel, particularly in navigation and seamanship courses, where her practical experience provided significant advantages. Her instructors noted her exceptional ability to visualize complex problems and develop innovative solutions under pressure. Several recommended her for advanced programs that would accelerate her career progression and provide opportunities for specialized training. These recommendations carried particular weight because they came from officers who had initially been skeptical about women's capabilities in operational roles. The most significant challenge of her second year came not from academic coursework or military training, but from an unexpected source that would test everything she had learned about leadership, integrity, and moral courage. The incident began innocuously enough during a routine inspection of the midshipman dormitories. Sarah was serving as company commander that week, responsible for ensuring all rooms met the Academy's exacting standards for cleanliness and organization. As she conducted her inspection rounds with characteristic thoroughness, Sarah discovered evidence that several midshipmen had been violating the Academy's strict honor code. Academic materials found in their rooms suggested they had been sharing answers to examinations and collaborating inappropriately on assignments that were meant to be completed individually. The evidence was circumstantial but compelling, indicating a systematic pattern of cheating that could compromise the integrity of their education. The discovery placed Sarah in an extremely difficult position. The midshipmen involved included some of her classmates, and even a few who had become friends during their shared Academy experience. Reporting them would almost certainly result in their dismissal from the Academy and the end of their naval careers before they had truly begun. However, ignoring the evidence would violate her own oath of honor and potentially allow the misconduct to continue. Sarah spent a sleepless night wrestling with the decision, knowing that her choice would have far-reaching consequences for everyone involved. The honor code was not merely a set of rules to be followed when convenient. It was the foundation upon which naval service was built. Officers who could not be trusted in small matters could never be relied upon when lives and national security depended on their integrity and judgment. The next morning, Sarah made the difficult decision to report her findings to the appropriate authorities. She documented everything carefully, ensuring that her report was factual and objective rather than accusatory or judgmental. The subsequent investigation confirmed her suspicions and resulted in the dismissal of 5 midshipmen for honor code violations. The incident sent shockwaves through their class, forcing everyone to confront the serious consequences of compromising their integrity. Some of Sarah's classmates praised her courage in upholding the honor code despite personal relationships and social pressure. Others criticized her for what they saw as betrayal of friendships and unnecessary destruction of promising careers. The controversy created divisions within their class that would take months to heal, with Sarah bearing the burden of having made an unpopular but necessary decision. The honor code incident enhanced Sarah's reputation among the Academy's leadership, while creating some social isolation among her peers. She had demonstrated the kind of moral courage expected from future naval officers, but at a personal cost that reminded her of the lonely burdens that often accompanied leadership responsibilities. Lieutenant Commander Walsh, now serving as an Academy instructor, counseled Sarah about the importance of making difficult decisions based on principles rather than popularity. As her second year progressed toward its conclusion, Sarah began preparing for another summer cruise assignment that would provide additional operational experience. This time, she was selected for service aboard a guided missile destroyer operating in the Mediterranean Sea. The assignment represented recognition of her exceptional performance during her previous cruise and promised even greater responsibilities and learning opportunities. The destroyer USS Fitzgerald was smaller and more tightly knit than the Hampton, with a crew of fewer than 300 officers and sailors. Sarah would serve as an assistant navigator under Lieutenant Rachel Stevens, another Naval Academy graduate who had risen rapidly through the ranks based on exceptional performance and leadership ability. The assignment would expose Sarah to different types of operations, while allowing her to build on the foundation established during her previous sea service. Preparation for the Mediterranean deployment included intensive briefings on the political and military situation in that strategically important region. The destroyer would participate in multinational exercises designed to demonstrate Allied unity and capability, while conducting routine patrols that contributed to regional stability. Sarah studied the geography, politics, and military forces of Mediterranean nations, wanting to understand the broader context within which her ship would operate. The USS Fitzgerald departed Norfolk on a gray October morning, beginning a transit that would take them across the Atlantic and through the Strait of Gibraltar into the Mediterranean Sea. Sarah stood on the bridge wing as the Virginia coast disappeared behind them, feeling the familiar excitement that accompanied the beginning of a new adventure. The next several months would test her growing skills while providing opportunities to serve her country in meaningful ways. The destroyer's transit across the Atlantic provided Sarah with valuable experience in ocean navigation and ship handling techniques that differed significantly from coastal operations. Lieutenant Stevens proved to be an excellent teacher who challenged Sarah to think beyond basic procedures and consider the strategic implications of navigation decisions. Weather routing, fuel economy, and tactical positioning all influenced how the ship made its way across thousands of miles of open ocean. Upon entering the Mediterranean, the Fitzgerald joined a multinational task force conducting exercises designed to improve coordination between Allied naval forces. Sarah observed how navigation supported complex operations involving ships from different nations with varying capabilities and procedures. Communication protocols, formation management, and safety procedures all required careful coordination to ensure successful outcomes while preventing accidents or misunderstandings. Her growing reputation as an exceptional navigator led to increased responsibilities and opportunities to work directly with senior officers. Captain Anderson, the Fitzgerald's commanding officer, began including Sarah in planning meetings where her technical expertise and fresh perspective contributed to decision-making processes. These experiences provided invaluable insights into how naval operations were conducted at the highest levels of command. The most significant event of Sarah's Mediterranean deployment occurred during a routine patrol near the Italian coast. The Fitzgerald was conducting navigation training exercises when they received an emergency distress call from a merchant vessel experiencing engine problems in rough seas. The cargo ship was drifting toward dangerous rocky coastline, with limited time available for rescue operations before weather conditions made assistance impossible. Captain Anderson immediately ordered the Fitzgerald to proceed to the merchant vessel's location at maximum speed. Sarah found herself playing a crucial role in plotting the fastest safe course through challenging waters while maintaining continuous communication with the distressed ship. Her calculations had to account for deteriorating weather, changing sea conditions, and the mechanical limitations of both vessels involved in the rescue operation. Working closely with Lieutenant Stevens and the ship's operations team, Sarah developed a rescue plan that would allow the Fitzgerald to take the merchant vessel under tow while providing shelter from the worst weather. The operation required precise navigation and seamanship skills, with no margin for error in the treacherous waters near the rocky coastline. Sarah's recommendations proved instrumental in the successful completion of the rescue mission. The merchant vessel's crew of 12 was safely evacuated to the Fitzgerald before weather conditions became too dangerous for small boat operations. The cargo ship was eventually towed to a safe harbor where repairs could be completed. The successful rescue operation earned recognition for the entire crew and highlighted Sarah's growing capabilities as a navigator and tactical decision-maker. Captain Anderson's fitness report for Sarah noted her exceptional performance during the rescue operation and recommended her for accelerated advancement and specialized training opportunities. The report specifically mentioned her ability to remain calm under pressure while developing innovative solutions to complex problems. These recommendations would significantly influence her future career path and assignment opportunities. As the Mediterranean deployment concluded and the Fitzgerald returned to Norfolk, Sarah reflected on how much she had grown during her second summer cruise. The experience had confirmed her passion for naval service, while demonstrating that she possessed the skills and temperament necessary for operational success. Most importantly, the deployment had provided opportunities to contribute meaningfully to her ship's mission and her crew's welfare. The return to the Academy for her third year brought increased leadership responsibilities and the beginning of her senior thesis project on advanced navigation techniques. Sarah chose to research the integration of traditional and electronic navigation methods, drawing on her practical experience to develop recommendations for improving naval navigation procedures. The project would require extensive research, analysis, and original thinking that would prepare her for the intellectual challenges of naval service. Her third year also included selection for the Academy's Elite Honor Guard, recognizing her exemplary conduct and leadership potential. This assignment required her to represent the Academy at formal ceremonies and public events while maintaining the highest standards of military bearing and appearance. The Honor Guard experience provided additional leadership training while connecting her more closely to the Academy's traditions and heritage. As Sarah progressed through her third year, she began preparing for the crucial decisions about her post-graduation service assignments. Her exceptional performance as a navigator had earned recommendations for specialized training in advanced navigation techniques and tactical operations. Several senior officers had expressed interest in having her serve under their command, recognizing her potential for rapid advancement and significant contributions to naval operations. The USS Hampton patch remained prominently displayed on her dress uniform, serving as a constant reminder of where her naval career had truly begun. The experiences gained aboard that cruiser had shaped her understanding of naval service and provided the foundation for all her subsequent achievements. The patch had become more than a uniform decoration. It was a symbol of her journey from uncertain midshipman to confident future officer. However, Sarah's most significant test was yet to come. The incident that would define her Academy experience and demonstrate the true extent of her character was building toward an inevitable confrontation that would shock everyone who witnessed it. The young woman who had worked so hard to earn respect and recognition was about to face her greatest challenge, one that would reveal the true meaning of the insignia she wore with such pride.